I'm here to film a video. I filmed this kind of video before, like back in March, I'd say, or February. I don't really remember. But I didn't like how it came out, so I'm reshooting it. Hopefully it's in sync. I don't know if it is or not. Let's hope it is. And if it's not, well, just listen rather than watching. But hello, hi, welcome back to my channel. I was fiddling with the lights. If you watch until the very end, I will probably show those clips of me trying to figure out if I wanted it to be more warm toned, which it is right now, or more cool toned, which I had before. So, la-di-da-da. It's currently June 3rd, 2020. I'm hoping to get this video out soon. Hopefully it goes well. But today is a special day for a video because I'm going to be reacting to a video that I was in like a year ago. A little over a year ago was when it was filmed. So, going to do that. Also, I have clips of like bloopers and stuff from this video that I'm in this video. Like I'll link to that video that I'm in where I was in that video. I'll link it down below. But I'm gonna just try to add a little bit of commentary and just try to talk about things and how things are and how things got, but also where they're going. So yeah. So I wanted this time, because the first time I filmed it, it was a little darker than I expected and a little bit triggering, but this time I'm trying to be like focused on recovery and like all the stuff I want to do, which I will talk about my 4 recovery based projects at the end of this video, which actually, if you saw my recovery reinforcer video that had the extra clips from this video in it, I just largely talked about it. And actually, the recovery reinforcer exists in this box. So, without further ado, I'm going to play it aside real quick. I know I'm doing a lot of asides. Apologize. This is from the YouTube channel The Other Side. See, that's my face over there. The first one right there. Okay, so, how do I say this? I have gone to a day program that I call Passages. It's not the real name of the place, but in all my writing and everything and videos and stuff like that, I referred to it as Passages, so to me, it is Passages, but the actual name of it is like mentioned in this video, shown in this video, and also in the Facebook page that I have for, it's called CCBC, so it's Community Counseling of Bristol County. But that's just like the organization that runs it and everything. So, we're gonna go into it. So, it's called CCBC, Recovery is Real, Raquel. And that's me, I'm Raquel. Right. So, you'll probably hear the audio. I'll play it over here. I was writing articles for my newspaper at school. I felt that while I was writing an article, I was safe, but every other time, I wasn't, and I was carrying around a suicide method with me everywhere I went. I just wound up making the dean's list that semester. Okay, so, trigger warning. Self-harm, suicidality, mental health conditions, it's going to be covered in this video. But, so, about this video. This was filmed back, it was an interview, right? And they filmed it for Passages to talk about people who have gone through the program and gotten better from it and have like re-entered recovery or just time, whatever it might be. So they asked some of us who had good success stories in a sense if we wanted to be involved in this interview, and I said yes. And they filmed it back, I believe, February 2019. It feels like it was longer than that, but it was February 2019. I believe it was actually Valentine's Day that day, because I think Valentine's Day marks the anniversary of how long I've been out of the hospital for. So they filmed it then. Then This was when, for recovery reinforcer, I made myself business cards. I can actually pull one out right here. I made these business cards. My business cards. That's stuff on the back. It says recovery to wellness, where survivors radiate badassery, because that's my slogan. Creator behind projects like #recoveryhome, recovery restoration, recovery personas, and recovery reinforcer. On the back, it says artist, advocate, a beacon of hope, recovery is possible, better days are ahead, your life matters. And then it has my email, which is my public email. This is recoverytowellness@hotmail.com. My website, which is recoverytowellness.wordpress.com, which I blog on. My Twitter, which is Recovery Raquel, and my YouTube, which is this channel right here. So that is my business card. I made them probably in January last year, and I gave one out to after I got interviewed for like the interview part of it. Sorry, hold on, I'm trying to fix myself. I can't cross my legs, so I just want to cross my legs. But I got to do the interview, and when I left to go to the, leaving from the interview after it had taken place, I gave Megan, who was the one from she and like two other people whose names I totally don't remember. She and two other people were from Persistent Productions, which was the agency that was, or I don't know if they're a company, but it was like the organization that they were using to fill these passages videos, as well as other videos and such, which are also on this YouTube channel, in case you're interested and curious and you want to know about that. So yeah, so my point with that was just like a little sort of aside. They wound up coming to my house to film, which you'll see in this video. If you do go to this video and watch it, it's on Facebook, it's also on YouTube, it's also on the CCDC website for passages and everything. So it's out there. If you want to check it out, you can. But yeah, and I lost my point again. This is gonna be a bitch to edit. They came to my house in March, and they filmed extra scenes and stuff because I have a lot of recovery-based things that I do. I am very much an advocate, and I didn't touch on it in this video, but I will probably mention it here. But let's go back. I'll flip it so that you can see it. So, sorry, that was an aside. I was writing articles for my newspaper at school. I felt that while I was writing an article, I was safe. But every other time, I wasn't. And I was carrying around a suicide method with me everywhere I went. I wound up making the dean's list that semester, but it was also the semester that I started going downhill pretty quick. So that semester I'm talking about is fall 2014, because I was diagnosed when I was in college, and I had only started having symptoms when I started college. So I had symptoms for about 2 years before I was diagnosed with anything, and yeah. The winter break happened, and having no school, like nothing to really turned out wasn't a good idea. Bad, very bad. A few days after New Year's Eve, I attempted suicide for the first time. So, that was a lot. My university's counseling center diagnosed me with obsessive-compulsive disorder on self-harm and suicide obsessions. The last thing I wanted to do was to hurt myself, but because I had the thought, I had this fear that I wanted to, which would cycle into like anxiety, and then I'd be like, oh my gosh, do I really want to do that? Maybe I should check. How do I check that? I would essentially come back to the realization that no, I don't want to hurt myself, and then I'd have another intrusive thought, and the whole cycle would begin again. So I would do that for hours at a time. 2017 was my most hospitalized year, and they really didn't know what to do with me. My social worker at the time, he was saying that was the one that I was in the longest, was the end of, well, it was September, October 2017, and I was there for 5 weeks, so I'm just talking about it here. I hope you can see this okay. I don't know if you really can or not. It looks a lot better on the actual, like, website and everything, which I will link down below. But enough chatter. Social worker at the time, he was saying, you don't really have a choice, and if you don't get better, we're gonna send you to the state hospital. So that was like, that made me really mad, because one of the big like cognitive distortions is like you don't have a choice, that kind of thing. When I tried correcting him, and he was like, no, you don't have a choice. So I'm like, no, I always have a choice. The depression came. So like, yeah, I called them DC in my articles that I wrote for the school newspaper. If you didn't know that, I'm actually in the process of reading out all of my articles from about spring 2017 all the way to fall 2018. But I wrote about mental health and advocacy and my recovery and what I struggled with, what I didn't, what I was doing well at, all that kind of stuff. I wrote all about it for like 2 years. Actually, yeah, 2 years. 2.5, I guess. But that was that whole thing. I called this social worker that I'm just mentioning in this video, I called him DC for douche canoe, because he was the douche canoe. But yeah, that's how I refer to him in my thing. And the hospital that I went to, I refer to as Unit Z, which of course none of the things I mentioned are ever the real names. So the big thing with like the choice thing. So I pointed over there. There I have reframed cognitive distortions. I guess yeah, they're like reframed cognitive distortions kind of thing. And one of them that I have on there and that I've seen, like it's been in my room since like 2015. I see it all the time, every day. Is that I always have a choice, and it doesn't necessarily mean like, you don't. I didn't choose to have a mental health condition, but I choose recovery. Like, recovery is a constant, like, every day, every moment kind of decision. And, I don't always make the right decision, I'm human, it happens. But I largely believe that, like, I have a choice, and that empowers me, and then that kind of gets me and inspires me to make the healthier choices. Not necessarily the right ones. They are the right ones actually too, but like, but like the healthier choices and stuff, rather than turning to self-harm or suicidality or avoidance. Avoidance is a big one for me. I avoid a lot. But yeah. So again, the choice is like him saying I didn't have a choice if he sent me to a state hospital or not wasn't like accurate. Like, I mean, I guess technically, yeah, you could send me to the, like he had the power to send me to the state hospital kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that necessarily I would have acted a certain way there, or it doesn't mean that I wouldn't have the choice to, rebel against it, or like, choose to not act on my behaviors as much, that kind of thing. Like, that's kind of what I meant. So again, you can't choose to have a condition, physical or mental, but you can choose how you react to it. So if you decide to use skills with like DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, which I mentioned more in this video, that has really, really helped me, honestly, completely changed my life. And, yeah. Alright. That was my aside, my other aside. Depression came back worse than ever before. So, yeah, again, I want to just reiterate, choice thing. I find choices to be really, really powerful. That was really, really empowering for me to be like, no, I do have a choice. Like, again, I may not always make the right choice. I may not always go into the healthier route of things. However, that is in my capability. I have power over that because I control my actions, things to that effect. And like, knowing that there are certain consequences to my actions can be helpful, can be a deterrent kind of thing. And then what ended up happening in that hospitalization was that I wound up getting ECT. If you've never heard of that, that's, sorry if I'm speaking too fast. But that's electroconvulsive therapy, and it's used for like treatment-resistant depression, like when other things haven't worked, and they were putting me on a whole bunch of different meds and all this kind of stuff, so they were really kind of spitfiring and hoping something stuck. And so I had ECT. I had about 6 treatments of it, I think, and they were able to do it at that hospital, and I started feeling better, and I was stable for like 2 solid months, and it was amazing, and it was great. And then January happened, and I had made a couple like YouTube videos, and at that point in time, I didn't have a lot of good self-boundaries or limits for myself. So I wound up accidentally triggering myself, and then I wound up having a really, really, really bad, intense depressive spiral, where I really didn't think I was going to get out of it. It was really, really bad. So it was probably the first time I ever really had like a depressive based spiral, because all the other times it was more OCD based. So it was a whole new game. And I was actively suicidal. I was writing suicide notes in my journal. My parents were really concerned about me because I was going from very, very depressed to very, very calm, very happy. If you saw what I was holding there, and if you see it in the actual video, I was holding positive messages. So those are the little like drawings and like sayings and stuff that I did, like created and made for like strangers and everything like that. So just on the side. Were really concerned about me because I was going from very, very depressed to very, very calm, very happy. They called up. So the thing I want to mention on this, a lot of people tend to think, like for the instance, right? There's that misconception that a lot of people end their lives in like the holiday season, so like Christmas and stuff like that. Actually, it's not true. It happens more in spring, because spring you kind of get out of the winter kind of thing, and like all the snow and all that kind of jazz, and then it's just like, I don't know, for whatever reason, spring is the higher numbers of suicides that happen, pretty much. And I think part of it, I know from how I've related to it before, was like, you know, you finally get the energy to like act on thoughts in a sense. Like, I don't know. This just, I know that's a pretty common misconception, but like it's actually, spring is, because you get that like burst of energy and you're able to be like, yeah, I can do it, like all that kind of stuff. Like it's not great, it's not good, but yeah. And for me, at that time, back in 2018, I definitely went through the again, another misconception kind of thing is that it would be someone really, 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 really depressed, and it can be. And then you kind of see people maybe going through like anxiety, like apathy, lack of energy, anger, guilt, and then calm and happy. So especially when it comes from like being very, very depressed to then switching to happiness, that can mean, it's unfortunately a misnomer. The misnomer where like you would think, oh, they're coming out of it and they're doing better and that's great, and they might be. Also, though, they could be overcompensating in a sense. Like, that's what I did. I overcompensated. I started to feel, once I decided that I was going to end my life, I kind of felt, it felt like a breath of fresh air. I could finally breathe, and I knew that I wasn't going to be around for certain things, and, like, I knew that, like, there was going to be, like, an end date in a sense, and that whatever I was dealing with wouldn't be burdening me any longer, and I wouldn't be a burden to other people, like things like that. So the going from like really depressed to really calm can mean that the person has decided to end their lives. So be very, very careful if you ever see that, if you see it in yourself, if you see it in friends or family or people on social media. That's also a big thing too, is like I would be very prominent on social media in my life in general, except for 2018. Although even in 2018 I did. Online, I would talk a lot about it. I would joke a lot about suicide. I would do a lot of those things. It was my way of expressing the fact that I needed help, and that, I mean, part of it I thought it was funny, but in like a really, it's funny because it's true kind of thing. So there was that whole thing. But like, if somebody online is like blacking out their page or like, you know, being really cryptic and like things like that, that can be signs that they're struggling and may need further support that a hospital setting may be able to provide. I know there's a lot of issues with hospitals, like it might, you know, could make it worse, or to some people, it's all like where you're at in recovery and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, suicidality, suicidal crisis is a medical emergency, and that person needs to go to the ER. If you're in the US, at least, you have to go to the ER, and then you have to get evaluated and checked, and they decide from there if you are like an imminent danger to yourself. Imminent meaning like going to hurt yourself that day or the next day, like really soon, rather than like 6 months from now, because that's a lot can happen in 6 months. And then, like, if you've had, like, other prior attempts, if you have a trauma history, if you self-harm, like, all that kind of jazz. I have articles about psych hospitals on my channel that I read out, and stuff like that, so if you're interested in that, or if you want to ask me questions, if you want to ask me questions, that's fine too. I'm very open. Again, I don't mention it in this, this video particularly, but I am a big NAMI advocate, public speaker, I suppose you could say. Maybe like a little one, not like a huge public speaker, but like a little one. But I've done, and if you don't know, NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. I'm in the Massachusetts chapter because I live in Massachusetts. So I've been telling my story since about 2016, you know, on and off here, you know, when I was struggling more and things like that. And I do the Inner Own Voice presentations. I started doing Ending the Silence before the quarantine, and peer-to-peer. And it's a huge, like, advocacy kind of thing, like, telling my story, telling what worked for me, what helped me, like, keeping it I statements and everything like that is a big thing that I do. Advocacy, for sure, helped me so much. Like, it just really gave me a lot of accountability, and it gave me, like, you know, a lot of the time, if I was struggling, I would think to myself, like, oh, tomorrow I have, like, a presentation, or next week I have a presentation where I'm going to talk about my story, and do I want to say that I gave in to my urges, or do I want to say that I overcame them and, you know, proceeded in a more healthy, happy way? So that's always been, like, a huge thing for me, having that as an outlet, and I get a little bit of money from it too, which is great. And of course right now with the whole quarantine, we're not doing that, and so I'm trying to find other ways of doing it and other manners. But I definitely do it in my real life, in my online life, and I'm trying to find ways to take a mental health break from other things as well, just because it is very mental health focused. But yeah, I forgot my point. This happens a lot. But yeah, I mean, like, so if somebody, yes, I was going to say hospitalization. So I've been hospitalized in 3 years. I was hospitalized 12 times. I live, as I mentioned in the video, I live with OCD on self-harm and suicide obsessions, which do not indicate genuine suicidal intention unless there is co-occurring, like, more than one disorder happening at the same time. I also live with secondary depression. I live with trichotillomania, which is hair pulling. I pull from my eyebrows and my eyes. Skin picking, dermatillomania, which I had picked before on my scalp, and most certainly in my ear, which I now have been having infections in again, which is not good. Need to stop that. And then I also live with borderline traits, or borderline tendencies. I forget what the actual terminology for it is, but I essentially only meet 4 of the 9 criteria. I meet 4 of the 9 criteria, whereas 5 or more is, like, then you're diagnosed with BPD, but technically in my paperwork it says I have BPD, which is borderline personality disorder. But I don't really think I fit into the full category of it. I think I'm more like the traits of it, just like some, like 4 of the symptoms pretty much. And even then, I'll tell you about my accomplishments at the very end, but this is going really well so far. Again, this is probably going to be like a super long video. I really apologize for that. I am very talkative. I talk a lot, and I don't know how to be, like, short and simple. And you'll probably notice that in my videos, like, throughout my channel. I hope that the thing is in sync as well. I'm not sure if it is. If it's not, feel free to listen to this while you're doing other things. That's totally fine with me. So, yes, hospitalizations, queen of hospitalizations. Not really, I'm kidding. But I was hospitalized a lot, and if someone is presenting with imminent danger to themselves, they need to go to the hospital, they need to go through the whole thing. Again, it might not be helpful for everyone depending on where they're at in recovery, depending on how the facility is, depending on how other clients there are. Like, there's so much into it, but the big thing is just trying to stabilize the person over about a week. An average stay is like a week. And if you have questions, you can feel free to message me on any of my social media or anything like that. So I'm going to get back to the video. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and they suggested to bring me to the hospital. And then from there, they recommended that I go to Pathways. I think Pathways always, for my experiences, has just been a really a place of positivity and a place that I could really explore all the good parts of myself and learn how to handle the darker parts. Like, I saw other clients modeling, like, being open about their ideation, like, I'm really struggling, and, like, I kind of forgot that that's how I used to be in my recovery, and it made me want to be like that again. It kind of reached back into myself and really pulled out a piece of hope that it could get better.
Yeah, so like that was a huge thing that I got out of it right away. I went to Passages, and I was going, I believe I was 1 week in the day program, which was, they have, partial program. They have a partial program, which is just a different timing kind of thing, and then they have the day program. And so I spent 1 week, like a full week, in the partial, and then I switched over to the day, and then the day program I went to 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I really did that for like 2 years, honestly. I was going to school at that time, and I was still doing things and all that kind of jazz. I only took like 1 class that semester, but that was fine. And I wanted to say something. Yeah, I went. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So I started there, and then I think it was when I was over in partial even, or maybe it was day. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily matter. But I was at program, and I was listening to one of my peers who I'm friends with and everything, and he was talking about how, he was really struggling with his ideation, he was really struggling, he was vocalizing it, and I remember kind of being there and sitting there, and because for me, my recovery story is almost so convoluted in a sense, like there's so many different facets to it, there's different like phases and such to it in a sense, because for the majority of the time, if we consider I started my journey fall 2014 until like June 2020, it was like until about like 2018, I always was very active in my own recovery and my treatment, and I was always the one really telling on myself and telling people that I needed help and that I needed to go to a hospital, like that kind of thing. So when 2018 happened, that was really the first time I really shut down, which unfortunately I also still continued a little bit to do what I do struggle now. I do kind of shut down, like that's my go-to. I kind of just shut off, and I'm like, oh, nope, and it's not good. And but that, for so long it has been that I was really active, that I was the one getting help, and I was the one telling on myself, and I was the one doing that. So when I wasn't doing that anymore, in like the first couple months of 2018, it was really, really weird, and just really like disorienting. And when I heard one of my peers talk about, being that open again with it, I was like, wow, like I used to do that. Like, why am I not doing that? And it was kind of one of those things. And I wound up, I had made a couple articles I made like 5 articles, I think, that were really, really dark and really pessimistic, and just really, really like not good, and about my mental health. And then I wound up going to school, and I talked to a friend about it, and I really kind of started feeling like maybe it doesn't have to like go this way. Like maybe I can change the story. Like there's a really good quote. It's like you can't change the beginning, but what you do now can change the ending. Like something like that. It's a really good quote. So I don't know. That was just really, having one of my peers be really open about it and just be like, not like triggering, but like just like I'm struggling and blah. I was like, I used to do that. Why am I not doing that? So that helped me a lot. Helped me again bring out that hope and bring out that, because for a while I wasn't thinking it was going to get any better, and it kind of rebrought everything out. I kind of had a rebirth moment, and then I wound up going to the program the next day, and then telling them what was happening, all this kind of stuff, because I was very cryptic apparently during that time. I honestly don't remember it, but I was really struggling, and I told the truth. I went to the hospital. Got out of the hospital. I went back to program, and spoiler, I got better. I got really better. I started the DBT intensive program in May 2018. I did that until January 2020. I've been out of the hospital almost 2.5 years, which is amazing because it's the longest I ever went before that was 9 months. So, hells yeah, doing awesome. I've reached stability as my baseline. Like, that's how I am. Like, I'm a very happy person. Um, happy, motivated, and which is good because I make endless projects for myself. I just have to work on like chores and stuff. I've been able to hold down a job for almost 9 months, which is the first and longest time I've ever gone. And yeah, and I've been fan fiction so much during quarantine, lots of fan fiction, and yeah, life's just been really, really, really great. And being an MCU fan, as I am, Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's helped a lot. I mean, honestly, for a long time, even like Ragnarok, Thor Ragnarok, because Loki is my favorite character, along with Iron Man, which is also why I have this necklace. But for a long time, like I was always kind of like thinking to myself, like, you know, I can't hurt myself, I can't end my life now because I want to go see Ragnarok when it comes out, and you know, I was able to do that, and Endgame completely destroyed me emotionally, but you know, other than that, but I'm excited for the Black Widow movie. I can't believe it got moved. Sucks, but also excited. And the Loki series, I'm so excited about that. Yeah, so that's a spoiler though, but I'll get back into the video because we only have a couple minutes left, to be honest. So my talking will end.
A piece of hope that it could get better. Like, a lot of the time I'm doing really well nowadays. Like, at Pathways, I've been going there for a year, and I mark a year out of the hospital. So, which is the longest I've ever gone, so it's really, really exciting. I think DBT has helped immensely. Dialectical behavior therapy, which is based in mindfulness practices and interpersonal effectiveness, emotion regulation, and distress tolerance. Even just trying to sit with feelings that are uncomfortable. Like, I had a crisis-ish kind of thing where, like, a couple weeks ago, and it was a terrible 15 minutes, but it was definitely a lot different because a year ago, if I had had that, I would have been unstable for like 3 or 4 days. Being on a really good streak for hospital-free, I'm kind of having like a silent, like, sort of bet with myself. I'm like, how long can I make it? Like, can I make it to a year and a half? Can I make it to 2 years? And I've been able to really reshape my identity to being more recovery-based and more positive, and being able to find like positive attention and like be the center of attention. I like that a lot. So I have my blog and I have my YouTube channel and things like that. Hey guys! And I focus more on just creating art and recovery-based projects that I have in mind that I want to create. I'm going to be doing some artwork. Before going to Pathways, I would be very unstable a lot of the time. Like, that was sort of my baseline. Now I have stability as my baseline. Like, it's really awesome. When I look out on the horizon nowadays, I see these like bouncy houses that are like blowing up into reality, and I probably looked out on the horizon a lot, and it was kind of like dead trees, bleak, and it was, you know, a hard time. And now with the bouncy houses, they're kind of just like these, like, almost like mirages that are just kind of coming up like this, and they're just kind of fun and vibrant. And I don't know, I played in some bouncy houses when I was a kid too, so they're just kind of fun and everything.
Also, we got to the end of the video. One of the last things I will say about this, as my final thoughts, I'll do a video another time where I will talk a little bit more about recovery reinforcer. I have a few videos that I've filmed and never edited about it, but the identity piece, I actually had a really good therapy session today where we really, really talked about the identity piece and sort of even moving further away from mental health. That's something that I'm going to have to soul search and work on and try to figure out. And it's probably going to be a goal of mine for a little while because I like the term recovery more than I like the term mental health. I find, like, mental health conditions and stuff like that, like, mental health, to me, mental health conditions, they are more darkness than light, whereas recovery I view more as light than darkness. But they still exist, like, the same presence as in both of the ideas. But I find that recovery is more like again, like the mirages, bouncy houses, and just very hopeful and positive and optimistic. Like, I was actually, I don't know if you'll believe it, but when I was younger, when I was like 15 or so, I was such a pessimist, such a cynical person and everything, had no faith in humanity. And I've done a complete 180. So it's really great, and I think a lot of that has come from my experiences, and I have to kind of try to find some ways to branch myself out from just mental health or just recovery, because it's like, I'm so much more than that. I'm so much more of a person and everything like that, and trying to figure out how do I tap into those areas of my life that don't make up me. And again, it's an ongoing project. I'm sure I will probably actually try to do some sort of project out of it, like a drawing or something to that effect. I was thinking about that today. And just kind of try to move away from everything being mental health, because that does get really draining and exhausting. So, doing like creative writing and doing like other things, blogging, videos, all that kind of stuff, like it doesn't always have to be about that, especially because I'm doing so well now. I may not have as much to say, maybe. But, just kind of growing and changing, and as I get more years under my belt and all that kind of jazz, it might not be as much of a focus in a sense. Again, I think even my channel sort of represents that. I don't really talk specifically. I don't know, I talk still about mental health, but in a more recovery focused manner, fashion. So, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still doing my thing. I like books. I'm such a book person. I don't read that much, which I have to work on. But I struggle now more days with the skin picking and the hair pulling. But I love reading. I can say that, right? I think I can say that. I want to be an author one day. I want to write a memoir, which I'm actually looking into some self-publishing options for that. Because largely I'm just going to, what I think I'm going to do is put all of my articles into like a book, and then also like some of the poetry and like creative writing kind of stuff, or like moments where I made fan fiction stories, like have that all like dated and like together kind of thing. Me and my therapist today were actually talking about the idea of what I want to do going forward, and if there's an issue with me being this open as I am online, especially online because it doesn't go away necessarily, and just kind of how that all works. And I'm definitely still figuring it out. I don't have everything all together all the time. My motivation wanes and comes and goes and all that kind of jazz, but largely I'm symptom free, largely. Minus a couple things here and there. I still get like intrusive thoughts and stuff like that too, but I don't let it get as bad as it used to, I guess. Like I'm able to kind of cut it off or move in a different direction and such. And my parents are really helpful, and I do that, talk with them, my mom especially. Working is good. I have videos for that to come up. I can't believe I've been there almost 9 months. It's really wild. It's wild. Yeah, I was on a podcast for one of my friends with Inani. I did a podcast with him back in December 2019, which was really cool, which I have to react to, and I haven't. I'm also going to be doing doing a video about this, but I'm also going to write a blog post about it. And then I have another interview kind of coming up for Sunday, this coming Sunday, I believe it's the 7th, with Bill McAfee. So check that out if you're curious. I will link it whenever that goes up. And yeah, I wanna be an author. I wanna write a memoir, and I wanna write a fiction novel, and like creative like poetry and short stories and all that kind of jazz, and like art and recovery based things, and like I have my recovery restoration, recovery personas, recovery reinforcer, recovery home, which I am writing articles bi-weekly for my friend Jason on his site, The Oddball Magazine, if you want to check that out. I have to actually write the article for this week very soon. And yeah, I want to give a TED Talk one day. One day. Branch out, go more into advocacy. I want to become a piercer. certified peer specialist. And yeah. So identity is still a work in progress. I still do a lot of tracking stuff. I track my moods and behaviors, mostly. The last couple months I kind of fell off doing that for a while, but the idea is that I do it, so, which I got from TPT. But I am going to end this here, because this is a good place to end it, and it's also almost like 45 minutes long, so it's been a while. I will see you in another video eventually, whenever I edit this one, and I hope that you are doing as well as you can. I am hoping to come up with some art-based videos and a support stand and things to that effect, as well as a get-to-know-me kind of video and questions for my mom about, you know, parents and children with adult children or children with mental health conditions, all that kind of jazz. So, I'm gonna go. As always, stay safe, take care, be well, much love and light to you. I will see you in another video, hopefully. You can stand all my jibber jabber. And I will link this in the description. You can go comment on Facebook or on the YouTube thing, wherever you want, really. And that's about it, I think. Yeah. I think this went really well. I think this is a lot better than how my other one went. So, well, I have some extra clips I can kind of toss at the very end. Yeah, that's it. Alright. Goodbye. See you later. Hopefully. Maybe. I don't know. Bye. I'm getting a cramp in my foot. Actually, I could probably cut that out. Community counseling of Bristol County. Community counseling of Bristol County. Hopefully I don't get an ad. Oh wait, hold on. I don't even have my volume up. That would be really helpful, so what was I saying with it?